guys, it's been a while. When was the last time we did a podcast like this?
Yeah, I think it was back during the sports festival. It's been a while. The day was so much fun.
Totally. It felt great to let out all the energy. And don't even get me started on the snacks.
For real, it was a blast. Well, except for the tug of war at the end.
What? That was my favorite part.
Oh, really? Just kidding. But seriously, it was a pretty intense match, right?
I know, right? My arms were giving out and I kept wondering, when is this gonna end?
But the people at the front were pulling with everything they had till the very end. Heroes. We were all losing strength and they kept us going from the front.
True. But there's something you guys don't know.
Oh, what's that?
Everyone talks about the front row, but do you know there's actually a more crucial position in the tug of war?
Really? Where?
It's actually the people in the back who play the key role. They are like the lever holding it down, anchoring the team. It's a lot harder than it looks.
Whoa, I always thought the front row was the most important. That's what all the photos show too.
The ones in the back are the real MVPs. They are the unsung heroes.
So they are the hidden heroes. No wonder the boys won that round.
I will have to remember that next time, but it's not just tug of war life also has these hidden heroes who don't get the spotlight.
Exactly, and that got us thinking, what about those in history who quietly held strong beliefs, went against the tide of their time and carried out their roles without seeking attention?
Right, that brings us to today's theme. True belief beyond the brief, unsung heroes in Europe.
This time, we're diving into European history to talk about three incredible figures who had rare convictions for their era and stayed true to their values without needing recognition. Each of us picked one character. Our first unsung hero is Nicola Strunsky. He was a nobleman and general who served as the Ban of Croatia from 1542 to 1566.
That's best known for the siege of Siget Bar 1566, which we'll get into more detail later.
In Hungary, he is actually considered a national hero, sort of like Korea's Admiral Unsung. But outside the region, not many people have heard of him.
He was born into the prestigious Jurenski family, one of the most powerful families in Croatia. At that time, his homeland Hungary was constantly under threat from the Ottoman Empire.
One of those major threats was the siege of Vienna in 1529. Jurenski joined the defender at just 21 years old and managed to survive, marking the beginning of his military path.
For context, the siege of Vienna was then the Ottoman brought around 10,000 troops to capture Vienna. The defenders had just 20,000 but held their ground.
Jurenski made his name in 1542. With only 400 Croatian soldiers, he rescued the imperial army at what is now Budapest. The victory earned him recognition and the title of Ban of Croatia.
Later in 1557, he stepped down from that role and started working as a loyal treasurer. Over time, he held several positions: commander of the Croatian-like cavalry, captain of Sigefar, and commander of the Transdanubian frontier.
But more impressive than his title was his loyalty. Even when support was lacking, he never gave up on his country.
He led campaign after campaign and in the end, gave his life for his people.
His death came in the spring of 1566 during the siege of Siget Bar. Jurenski defended the fortress with just 2,300 to 2,500 troops against more than 100,000 Ottoman soldiers and 300 cannons.
Despite being cut off from reinforcements and outgunned, he refused to surrender and held the fortress for an entire month. That siege is what immortalized him.
Things got so desperate that the defenders decided on a final suicide charge. They ran out of ammunition and loaded cannons with Johnson's scrap metal.
In the end, most of the soldiers, including Jurenski, led a final suicide charge on September 7th. He was shot and killed in the attack.
According to historical accounts, during his final attack, he didn't wear armor, just a hat and a fine suit. He said he was ready to face God's judgment. It's heartbreaking, but also incredibly noble.
Thankfully, he is remembered in Croatia as a hero who defended Christian Europe as the savior of European civilization. History inspired numerous works of art, music, and literature. There's even a Croatian opera.
I'm really glad he's being honored, at least in his home country. His courage and sacrifice deserve to be known more widely.
Absolutely. For our third figure, we are going to introduce a spy.
Yeah, but not just any spy, someone truly incredible that not many people know about. Her name is Noor Inayat Khan.
Have you ever heard of her? Maybe not, but trust us, she lived an extraordinary life.
Noor was born in 1915 in Moscow to an Indian Pakistani father and an American mother. She grew up in a truly multicultural family.
Later, her family moved to France, where she grew up in Paris, studied child psychology, and even worked as a children's author. She was known to be a devout pacifist as well.
So, how does someone like that end up becoming a spy?
Everything changed when World War II broke out. As Nazi forces moved in to occupy Paris, Noor and her brother felt they couldn't just sit by and do nothing.
So they moved to England, and Noor volunteered for the Women's Auxiliary Air Force WAAF, where she began training as a radio operator.
That training was pretty intense. Morse code, radio transmission, lock-picking, resisting interrogation, even learning how to shoot.
And because of her fluent French and Parisian background, she was recruited into the Special Operations Executive as a spy.
In 1943, she was sent alone to Angers, just south of Paris, where she reportedly handled radio communications for 6 agents, all by herself.
But of course, the job was incredibly dangerous. One time, during a train inspection, she calmly handed over a movie projector, pretending it was just for travel entertainment, and got away with it.
Another time, she was caught installing an antenna. She told them she was just listening to music and even managed to get help from the local police.
Her acting skills must have been amazing. But unfortunately, she was eventually betrayed. One of her fellow agents gave away her location to the secret police.
After being captured, she was tortured, but never relieved any information. She even attempted to escape, but was caught again.
Eventually, she was sent to the Dachau concentration camp in Germany, and in 1944, at just 30 years old, she was executed. Her final word before her death was freedom.
Isn't that incredible? A true warrior for freedom who fought not with weapons, but with a radio.
And what's really important is that she wasn't just following orders. She chose to act based on her own beliefs and deep commitment to peace.
That's why we wanted to share her story in this episode, not as an obscure name in history, but as someone we all need to remember.
Exactly. Remembering people like Noor, who fought quietly but fiercely for what they believed in. That's what this podcast is all about. Third person is Maria Noors, prolific English Victorian biologist, botanical artist.
She is also known as a traveler writer.
Although I'm not interested in both botany and paintings, there were something interesting things to me.
Looks like it. Maria Noors was born in England, Hastings, as the eldest of 3 of a rich, cultured family. Her parents recommended her to learn art and music, which was a universal hobby for Victorian women.
After her voice was broken, she decided to practice painting more as an alternative way of expressing beauty. Especially she drew plants.
I think her father influenced her a lot. He was a friend of Sir Joseph Thornton Hooker, founding father of geographical botany, Darwin's closest friend, and more importantly, director of Royal Botanic Gardens Kew, one of the most biodiverse places on Earth.
She saw exotic red of Hostia nobilis by Hooker, which made her want to go to the tropics there.
Her father even built 3 greenhouses and populated exotic plants for her. And because of his money, she could travel around the world.
Right, she had a very happy home life, but it ended earlier than others. Her mom died, so she and her father started to travel, but because of illness, her father died too.
That's when she decided to devote her life to painting plants and landscapes in many countries to assuage her grief.
Agreed. She was so fascinated by drawing plants that she painted over 800 paintings while visiting 17 countries on 6 continents for 14 years, even by herself.
I think her life was defying the central conventions of her era in which women were expected. She didn't marry, travel alone as a woman, studied biology and art.
Agree. More surprisingly, she out by the Red Woods of California, made an official plea to save them from destruction. It was a century before the first modern environmentalist Rachel Carson.
Anyway, after returning to England, she met Hooker to donate her paintings with several hundred unknown plants to Europeans.
So, in 1882, her gallery was opened. On display for the opening of the gallery were 800 oil on cardboard paintings, which represented 20 years of Norse's life.
Agree. Anyways, I'm wondering why there is quite a lot of information despite our topic being unsung heroes in Europe.
Because she wrote her extraordinary life in her diary from a young age. It was published by Hooker after her death.
Sounds cool. And now I want to share why she was a special botany artist. She painted unlike any other botanical artist of her time.
Yeah, first of all, no one could travel around the world, find a new botany, and drew over 800 paintings. Because of her, European botanists could learn about new species.
Right, and because she used oil while others used pencil or watercolor, her paintings didn't fade or yellow with the time, especially in hot and wet weathers.
She used a limited palette, including cobalt blue, white and red to reduce the amount of materials to carry.
And she liked to draw plants with the context of their native ecosystems rather than other plants being isolated from them.
That's why her paintings were famous to botanists who need to study the habitats of plants.
Her paintings served as a photo to botanists before photography became portable devices.
So Francis Galton and Charles Darwin came to see her and became close friends. Her paintings actually helped them to build a systemic theory of botany.
Also, over 5 exotic plant species bear her name, including Nepenthes nolteana, which is famous for eating insects.
I think her life was most literary, but filled with wonder. Isn't it so cool?
Haha. Anyways, that's quite an info for today.
There's just so many hidden heroes who contributed to our society in each area.
Yeah, like students who were in the back during tug of war.
Actually, I was impressed by them because they actually lived doing what they thought was right or what they wanted to do.
Agree. Their Indians can fought for freedom in the front of war without any kind of violent behavior.
Maria North traveled around the world and drew unfounded plants for a sense of wonder and advancement in botany.
Nicholas Piłsudski fought for peace and freedom of Croatia against the Ottoman Empire, even though there was no support from his country.
I hope we live like them, live a life according to our beliefs and thoughts.
Agree. I think that's it for today. We will come back with other historical figures. Thank you and see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.